Hello, it is Saturday, October 10th at 8 o'clock. It's a little later than I have been recording in the mornings. And this morning, what I decided to do was just take my time after I woke up. I woke up probably, about an hour and a half ago or so. And rather than to kind of like rush myself into recording, because in some ways I think that's what I've been doing, because I want to make sure to get a recording in instead of having the day start to take over and next thing you know I haven't done a recording. So instead of just getting up in the morning and going, okay, like I need to record, I decided this morning just to give myself a little bit of breathing space and ease into the day rather than to kind of feel like I need to get things done, rush, 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 that kind of a feeling. Because like yesterday was a pretty intense day. It's been pretty intense. The last few weeks have been really, really intense. And yesterday was no exception. It's almost like a new day brings some new level of intensity. And it's a lot. It's a lot to kind of process. And so let me talk about yesterday. So I woke up in the morning, made the recording, and then watched a couple of videos or a few videos on YouTube, thinking that I had maybe a few things that was scheduled for me to do. A couple of phone calls, just kind of getting in touch with people, but also that I had this procedure of the drainage tube to be looked at, or something for it to happen with it, which was scheduled for Friday, so yesterday at 3 o'clock, which I was really happy about, the fact that it was being looked at, because it's been leaking and I wasn't sure what was going on with it. So I was glad on one hand, excuse me, to have it looked at and to know that somebody was going to, or the IR department was going to look at it and just assess what's going on with it. So on one hand, I felt really good about that, but on the other hand, it's just been so unpleasant, the feeling of having this tube and just having gone through the procedure. I guess it would have been only like last Wednesday. It feels like a lot longer than that. But like last week was when I was in the hospital. And being in the hospital, having the procedure done, that was pretty hard. It was pretty intense. And it was very uncomfortable. I would say even, painful. Like in really just this uncomfortable kind of a feeling way. And then it's also been, there's just been pain that I've been experiencing around the site of the tube. So I think I mentioned I've been having difficulties yawning or deep breathing. If I've had to burp or anything like that, like it would just feel like this pain every time, this push or pull or whatever. Like it's just this discomfort every time I would have like a bodily response to something. So that's for the last week. So it's almost like, anytime I would feel like a burp or something coming on, or even the need to deep breathe, I would sort of brace myself because there's this sharp something that happens. I guess like there's a part of me that hesitates to call it pain exactly, but it's just like this sharp kind of like poke or cut or something. Like it just feels not pleasant. It's very, very uncomfortable. So that's what I've been feeling for the last week. When I went to the nurse's clinic on Thursday, he was really great. Like he mentioned that there was something with the suture or the stitch that seemed to be creating some of that discomfort. So he was able to change that or loosen it. I don't know exactly what he did, but he was able to do something with it so that it wasn't as uncomfortable every time, which I really, really appreciated. And he had cleaned the area up because it was leaking and all that kind of stuff. But by the time that I had gotten up yesterday morning, and by the time that I had gotten to the hospital, it was like leaked right through again. So there was clearly something that was going on. So I knew that that was something that was happening yesterday. Wasn't looking forward to it. So, I was just taking it easy in the morning, just watching maybe a few videos. But so like I mentioned, this is October the 10th, 2020. A few days ago, Eddie Van Halen, who is the legendary guitarist for the band Van Halen, it was announced that he had died of cancer. Didn't talk about what kind of cancer, but I was watching a Howard Stern video, where he and Robin were talking about, I guess, his tribute to Eddie Van Halen. And he had mentioned that he had reached out to Sammy Hagar to see whether or not, I mean, I'm sure some of it is just, hey, how are you doing? But also perhaps to see whether or not he wanted to be on the show to talk about Eddie Van Halen. And I guess Sammy Hagar had said, actually, I'm not quite ready to talk about him publicly yet, but I will say this. I will say that Eddie had reached out to me at the beginning of the year to let me know what was going on with him and his health. And we'd actually been texting back and forth since then. We didn't want to make it public in any way because people would start speculating and talking about how there would be a reunion. But they both knew that based on Eddie's health that wasn't going to happen. So that was something that they, wanted to keep under wraps. And Sammy Hagar had told Howard Stern by text that Eddie had stopped responding to him about a month ago. And it's when he realized that probably things were taking a turn for the worse for Eddie. And I guess there was just something about that, watching that video, that was really hard for me because I try to keep in the present. I try to keep right now. I'm sort of, at the beginning of this particular journey for myself. And there's going to be an end. And try not to have my mind go there. But then there was something about Sammy Hagar talking about Eddie Van Halen. And it's just, at this point, like, just kind of like, I go into my imagination around this. There's no way of knowing what Eddie Van Halen's experience was. But, yeah, that something had turned for him in the last month, that there was some kind of an inability, or he just didn't respond for whatever reason. Something was going on his end. That, anyway, I can sort of like make up my own kind of stories around that. But it's so that kind of got my wheels spinning about relating that particular story to what mine may be. That didn't feel good. And then I was watching some videos about Japan, because not being in Japan, not having the opportunity to go even before I got sick, like with COVID and everything like that. Just I miss Japan, and also to kind of feel like, especially with COVID sort of being this thing in Ontario, it's just this total shit show right now. Like, they're beginning to close everything back down again, that I may likely never get to go to or experience Japan again. And that, that was a tough one for me yesterday morning, a real tough one. And rather than to kind of like have it snowball, because I think that's also always possible, right? Like you start thinking about one thing, and the next thing you know, like you kind of think about the next thing, and this and that and everything else. And I just got started getting very sad, um, but I cried it out a little bit, and that helped. Joe helped. He was there to support me through that. And yeah, I mean, I think that it was helpful for me to talk to him about it later on. I had an opportunity to also process it with someone else, very special for me, and so that also helped as well. To again, like to kind of keep bringing myself back to the now, right? Rather than to have my brain go to some different places. But at the same time, though, there are certain things that I would like to do, during this time that I have left. And I started kind of a list of things, and they all kind of seem, I don't know, like to this point a little bit, I don't know, superficial and stuff. My big thing is experiences. So for me to be able to go to as many places as possible, I mean, I think if I were to have like some kind of like a life is short or a bucket list or whatever, it would just be a list of all the places I've never been before, which is pretty much a lot of places. And just being able to have the potential for a conversation with like people that I have looked up to or admired or have an interest in. So it would be one of those, either of those things. Like Japan, being able to go to a bunch of other kinds of places. Never been to Europe, just being able to do some other things, and being able to have conversations with folks that I've found fascinating over time. I think that those that would like comprise my list of things that I would really love to be able to have an opportunity to be able to do. So, and at some point, I think I'm going to post that on my website and see whether or not there are some of those things that do end up getting accomplished over this time. So that's one thing. So that was sort of the first bit of the day. Ended up going to the hospital at 3 o'clock to have this procedure. So the other thing that was going on is that we were picking up our old new car. I don't know which. It's an older car, but it's a new one for us. And I think I talked about it. It's a kind of a car that has like a crank window, and it is like a bit of a time machine from a different time, but it runs great, and it's super cute. And I've named it Greenie because it's a green car. But there's something I like about the name Greenie, because there's something kind of like, it's a nickname, and it's like it's a pal, something friendly, and I think I don't know, there's something about it. It's a little bit kind of cute and childlike, I feel like. And we had a plan to pick it up yesterday, so this is Friday. So, but when I found out that I had this procedure at the hospital at 3 o'clock, I was just like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. I don't know what to expect, because the last time there was like sedation, and it took so long. I had to wait for this and that and everything else. So I didn't know how long it was going to take. So I kind of resigned myself to feeling like I wasn't going to be able to participate in the picking up of Greenie from the folks that were selling it to us. But went to the hospital, and they got me in like right at 3 o'clock. They actually, over a 21-minute period, so it was actually a really short period of time, but it was really intense. It was really uncomfortable, and some of it was actually quite painful. But what they ended up doing was they replaced the tube that was in the bile duct, I guess, and because there was some blockage. And it's uncomfortable. It is really uncomfortable. And the doctors are like, oh, you shouldn't really be feeling this, or it's just going to be, a minor thing. No, it is uncomfortable. It feels like, I was saying to someone yesterday, it feels like having a garden hose being fed into your organs. It is, oh, like I was nauseous. It's, and pain, and the pain. So it turns out that stitch, that suture, whatever it is, was causing all that stuff that I've been talking about, like just the trouble with breathing. And I thought it was because it was going through like a couple of ribs or something like that. That's what the guy had told me last Saturday. But it turns out it's been the suture all along that was like sutured in a really weird angle or something like that. So it was just pulling every time I moved my torso. So they removed the suture, and it's so much better, but it's also been tender because it's just been pulling and probably kind of on the raw side for the last week or so. So when they were kind of like poking at that area, when they were replacing the tube, it was so painful. They ended up freezing it in the end, which I appreciate because at least that made it bearable. But yeah, like that was, I was glad that they removed the suture because now the only pain that I'm experiencing is just sort of the rawness of having had the procedure done. But when I took a deep breath, I'm not having to. I mean, it's still a little bit uncomfortable, but it's not this kind of catch that I kept having to do every time I would have like some kind of a bodily function happen. So like laughing and stuff like that there would be discomfort and that sharp kind of a feeling that I would get and all that kind of stuff. So they removed the suture, thank goodness, but it was done in 21 minutes. It wasn't, like I said, like the best experience ever. It was really uncomfortable, but it allowed me to go and participate in picking up Greenie yesterday. So that was really awesome. But I also wanted to mention that last Saturday when I went to the hospital, one of the folks who was there to help, I think she was a technologist, I think that they called her, or maybe she's a nurse, I'm not quite sure, but her name is Anne, and she was there on Saturday. I was so grateful that last week she was there, and it happened to be that she was also one of the people that were attending in the procedure yesterday, and she was there and she advocated for me, and she was the one who said, this stitch, this suture is painful for her. We should remove it. And she was saying to me, it's like I was trying to tell them that they should remove it on Saturday. So glad they did that for you today. So glad that we were able to help you out and stuff. So she was so great, and I was so, so grateful that she was there on Saturday and she knew me, remembered me, and helped me out yesterday. So thank you, Anne. Thank you so, so, so much, because that was, like there's so many hard things, and there's going to continue to be hard things that are going to happen, but the kindness of folks that I come across as I go through this experience and this journey just helps. It's I just can't say enough about that. So with that done, I was feeling nauseous, but I let Joe and my friend Akiko know that I was available. I'm done. I can go and pick up the car. So they came to pick me up. It just happened to sort of line up with timing, which was great. The traffic was horrible because this is actually a long weekend here in Canada. It's Thanksgiving weekend. We have it a little bit earlier here in Canada, so it's the second week of October generally. but the COVID situation here is just completely out of control. So there's like all these lockdown things that are going on now, like they put restrictions on restaurants and stuff, and the numbers just have been insane. And I think that there'll be another time we'll talk about this, but it's just like, these folks who have not been so careful throughout this situation, or especially with these numbers rising. There are clearly folks who have not been as careful about who they're associating with or how they're associating with people, because they wouldn't be rising in the ways that these numbers are if everybody was careful. And I only wish that these people who made those choices could see that there are people in hospitals, not just myself. I've to this point, again, like, been very fortunate, but there are people who are in similar situations as I am, who, like, for instance, Princess Margaret Hospital is a hospital that is dedicated to treating folks with cancer. There are people with varying degrees of cancer and treatment who are not able to have visitors or people there to support them because of these COVID numbers, because of COVID, period. But specifically because of these, of the fact that they're at risk, and these hospitals have to put these restrictions in place, and it's horrendous. It's just awful that, to go through something like this and not be able to have support there. To have to go through some of these kinds of situations, even sort of some of the meetings that I've gone to up to this point or whatever on my own, or, that I'm not the only person. There are plenty of people. Saw on a screen at Princess Margaret, they treat over 20,000 patients. So there's all thousands and thousands of people who are having to go through it, Princess Margaret alone. Never mind in other places with, similar situations. It's just, I wish that people would have been more careful. Like, Ontario right now is just, it's a complete and utter shit show. It's terrible. It's terrible what's going on. But anyway, that's another thing for another day. But this video is running quite long, but long story short, we picked up the car. Loved the car. Joe and I both love the car. Has its own personality, Greenie does. And she's like a little time machine, has a CD player, has the crank down windows, has the locks where you have to push it up and down on the car door. It's just it's a neat little, cute little machine. But I'm so, and I think I mentioned this before, I'm so glad to have her back on the road, and to support us, and to have her as part of our family, and for all the people that came together to make it happen for us. And I was saying to somebody yesterday that this is this daisy chain of support for us, and it's incredible. So we have her now, and I'm sorry I didn't take video. I had the camera with me, but I was just nauseous after the procedure at the hospital, and we just took some pictures, so I'll include the pictures somewhere, hopefully in this video. Maybe I'll edit this, I don't know. Yeah, like, you'll see our adventures in it. I know I've said that. I've been like, you're gonna see us picking up the car and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry that didn't happen. It was just bad timing, and it just didn't, just wasn't a thing that happened yesterday. So, but you'll see us on our adventures with Greenie and the future, because I know that there'll be a ton of them. And yeah, so afterwards we we had the rental too, so we returned the rental yesterday, and made sure that Greenie had her own spot where we live. So we're able to get all that sorted out, and then we decided to go get the chicken dinner at our favorite chicken place called George's. If you're in Toronto, Bloor and Bathurst, George's Chicken is south of Bloor Street on Bathurst. Please go and support them. They're an amazing family, and they've been doing this for years and years and years, and they make amazing chicken. And again, like a family-run place, and I know that they've been struggling. And with the restrictions coming in again, hopefully they'll be able to make it through, because again, like amazing folks, amazing chicken. And their gravy, the gravy is ridiculous. So good. So if you're in the neighborhood, or even if you're not in the neighborhood, it's so worth it. Yeah. Please go support George's. And we got George's yesterday. It was really fantastic. And yeah, the folks there are really, really great. So that was yesterday. It was a roller coaster of a day. And yeah, it was a bit of a challenge and a struggle to get through yesterday. But at the end of the day, it was ended on the upside. It was just great to have the chance to pick up Greenie and drive her back home and go and get chicken and inaugurate Greenie's first thing with us by going to George's and having like the essence of George's chicken in the car and all that kind of stuff. So that's it for today. So at least for this morning. Today I think is going to be pretty laid back. I'm actually looking forward to it. I don't have any appointments. There are certain things that I got to get done today, a couple conversations and things that, I'll be having. I'm still, there is still some pain from the tube insertion site on my side here, so hopefully that'll start calming itself down soon. And by taking it easy today, I'm hoping that in the next couple of days I start feeling better. On Monday I have the nurse just going to look at the dressing and stuff like that. But a couple of days of like no appointments, which I'm really looking forward to. So that's the very long update for today. Thanks so much, as always, for tuning in and following along. If you would be so kind to subscribe, if this is something that's an interesting journey for you, or to follow along with me, I send you love and care, and again, like I mentioned, if you can please think about giving love and care around to the folks that you love and care about, and maybe you can also send some my way too. I will gratefully accept it. So take good care, and I'll talk to you real soon.